This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio.
The Asian American Pacific Islander Nurses Association of Nevada presents Healthy Mondays with Apina of Nevada. Start the week healthy and right with interesting conversations on living a healthy lifestyle. And now, your Healthy Mondays host, Dr. Marife Aczon-Armstrong.
Aloha! Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Good evening. Naimbag de gabi. I'm trying to greet you all in our Filipino language and welcome to Healthy Mondays with Apina of Nevada. I'm yours truly, Dr. Marife Aczon-Armstrong, founding president of the Asian American Pacific Islander Nurse Association of Nevada and professor in nursing at Roseman University of Health Sciences, College of Nursing. Well, this month of April Awareness Month, and just to recap, last week we talked about Alcohol Awareness Month, and I wanted to thank my good friend and colleague, Dr. Tanya Sorrell, who gave a wonderful, excellent community resources for our listeners out there. And tonight we have equally special guest, and he is not new to Healthy Mondays. This is actually his fourth time to be our guest.
Could be fifth.
Yes. Welcome to Healthy Mondays, Dr. Manas Mandal.
Thank you, Marife. Thank you for inviting me once again to Healthy Monday on the Happiness platform. It's so good to be here with you all talking about today's topic. Maybe we can discuss about the current vaccines against COVID-19.
Yes, exactly. And it's very timely, Manas, because of what's happening with the Janssen, the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine. Mm-hmm. And so we will try to, with your help, we'll try to give light to our community listeners out there about the vaccinations. Maybe we can start from the start about mentioning about Pfizer, Moderna, the Janssen, and also the AstraZeneca, right? And maybe other COVID-19 vaccinations that are out there.
Yeah, so that's a good starting point, Marife. Thanks for allowing me to begin there. So it all began last year in 2020. When this infection was raging all over the world, including US, many of the pharmaceutical companies, such as Pfizer-BioNTech, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca, and many other companies, Novavax, etc., went out on a war footing to develop a vaccine. It takes about 10 years to develop a vaccine, starting from the research, bringing it to the market, when they can be administered to the individuals who will be protected after immunization following the FDA approval process. It's a long way to go. It takes about 10 years, completing the 3 stages of clinical trials, the regulatory approval, looking at the safety, efficacy data, making sure that this vaccine will protect us against infection. But that was not the case for COVID-19. Mm-hmm. Everything started beginning of January 2020 last year, and it was race ahead of the time or against the infection. The pandemic was raging, so the scientists and clinicians did a marvelous job not only developing the vaccines, but conducting the clinical trials without compromising safety and efficacy. That has been tested and tried worldwide, vetted by FDA, other regulatory bodies worldwide. Then, beginning of this year through end of last year, mid-December 2020, through beginning of this year, now we have at least 4 vaccines approved and given worldwide.
And I think we want to emphasize, Manas, that they were approved for emergency use only.
These vaccines received emergency use authorization, EUA, by the FDA. Actually, I sat on those meetings conducted by the FDA on the regulatory approval sessions. Those sessions were open to everyone interested on open platform on CDC, FDA's website. And it was wonderful to learn how detailed was the scientific work and the presentations by Moderna, by Pfizer, presenting their case not only to the regulators, not only to the clinicians and physicians, but the people who are interested in learning about those things worldwide. It was open to everyone.
To the public, right?
To the public.
So it's the transparency
is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Is the most transparent event I have ever seen. Because I can say that I'm a vaccine researcher. Prior to this COVID-19 vaccine approval, I never sat on a vaccine approval process watching it step by step as it was unfolding. The manufacturers' representatives, their scientists, their clinicians, they answered all the questions from the CDC, from the vaccine regulatory boards. That's a separate individual board, BRB PSC. That is constituted of 23 individuals who sits on that board. Not only physicians, scientists, but various other members of the society, such as lawyers. They analyze from every aspect, the legal aspects, the safety aspects, the ethical aspects of these vaccines. Only after their deliberation for about 8 to 10 hours, they approved the emergency use authorization. With that authorization, to begin with, we had Moderna and Pfizer vaccine approved for use, meaning administered to the US citizens. These two are mRNA genetic sequence based on COVID-19 spike proteins. And these two vaccines comes with 2 shots, 21 and 28 days apart, whereas subsequent to that, another vaccine, such as Johnson & Johnson, came up with adenovirus vector-mediated, a different platform, but it's also a genetic vaccine that contains spike protein-specific DNA sequences. Now, what you are referring to at the beginning of our conversation is that very recently, last several weeks, it has been noted that some of the individuals who received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine unfortunately developed some clotting defects. So as of today, right now, CDC,
there's about 6 cases.
There has been 6 cases observed out of 6.5 million immunized individuals with J&J vaccine. So it's less than 1 per million individuals immunized with J&J vaccine developed some clotting defects. In response to that, as of right now, CDC announced halting of J&J vaccine. But Moderna and Pfizer vaccines did miraculous. They are very good. There were some side effects due to Moderna and Pfizer vaccines, but they were very mild. There is nothing to be worried about Moderna and Pfizer vaccines.
And there were expected side effects too.
Yes.
Because I experienced it myself. The one that really strikes me, Manas, is the headache.
Yes.
The headache was that nagging headache,
yes.
And it didn't really happen until the second dose.
Yes.
The first dose is more like body aches.
Muscle pain, soreness.
Pain.
Yes.
I don't know whether I had fever, but that's about it.
I can share my experience. So both of us are immunized with Moderna vaccines with the full course.
We're fully immunized.
Yes, we are fully immunized. I'm over a month fully immunized now. So Moderna vaccine is a very strong vaccine. So it developed some type of adverse reactions in less than 10% of the vaccinated individuals. Majority of the side effects were headache, muscle pain at the site of injection, little redness, sore muscle, little bit of fatigue, and in some instances, little fever and chill. Personally, after second shot with Moderna, I had a little bit of feverish condition and chill, and I did not feel like going out to do anything. That's a fatigue. So I rested for about 24 hours one evening. I slept a lot, drank lots of water, and next morning I was pretty okay. And within 48 hours, I started going back to the gym. And it did not prevent me doing some light exercises that I do regularly. So taken together, all these vaccines are very safe. But they unfortunately, with Johnson & Johnson vaccine and another vaccine formulation, that is AstraZeneca's vaccine, that is not allowed or given in US, they might as well file for emergency approval to US regulators later on. But that AstraZeneca vaccine has been given worldwide in 60 different countries. People who received that AstraZeneca vaccines, they also, some of them developed little clotting cascade defects, defects. What are the numbers? About 80 to 90 individuals out of 60 million received those vaccines. So it's about 1 per million doses given or vaccinated individuals. Many of those individuals who developed these clotting defects are women. Unfortunately, they are women. About age group 55 and below, or around 55 years of age.
And we were talking earlier as we were coming here that maybe there's assumption that it could be contaminated, or those individuals who had that really severe side effects already were prone to have
most
that
likely it will be found later on through clinical investigation that those individuals developed those clotting defects. Maybe they were prone. You are right. They may have high lipid in their high cholesterol, high blood pressure.
Filipinos, the Filipino population are most of us have high cholesterol, and I think it's related to, and we know that it's related to our diet. You know, our lechon, our fatty foods. Yes, so
carbohydrate containing diets, fatty foods, fried stuffs. It's not limited to the Filipinos. Honestly, everyone loves those.
I only know about that.
Those comfort foods, but we need to use them in moderation.
Yes.
Enjoy them once in a while, but that should not constitute our regular meal, regular food. We need to be careful about what we are eating. So many of those individuals may have that tendency to develop a clotting defect. And again, we are talking about an observation, 1 in a million. What are the chances that even that 1 million individuals did not get this vaccine, still there will be at least one person would develop some clotting defects. So it's the cause versus the observation. Now we have the observation.
Yes.
But is it caused due to the vaccination? We do not know that.
The good news is, while they're investigating, that they put a hold on
it.
The vaccination for that particular vaccine.
For the community.
Yes.
And that also tells us that these adverse reactions are well monitored. They are controlled, meaning as soon as something is observed, the regulator, CDC and other agencies, FDA, comes up with a decision, let's stop it, let's understand what's happening here. If we find that there is nothing to be alarmed of, nothing to fear of, then move forward with these vaccination protocols. Because currently it is important that as many people we should get vaccinated, because these new variants, particularly this B117 UK variant, spreading all over the country, particularly some areas such as Michigan and other places, they are causing some concerns, increasing the hospitalization, increasing the infection. So to prevent increase in infection, we need to immunize, particularly in the minority community where there are hesitancies about being vaccinated, taking the immunizations. We have to convince them that these vaccines are safe, adequate protection, adequate measures and safeguards are available, and qualified individuals are always monitoring for any adverse reactions that may compromise their good health.
And I think I like that transparency when you are mentioning earlier that the public were invited to be part of that deliberation and the process. And you said it's about 8 to 10 hours.
It's a very long day. It began in the morning. It went into the late in the afternoon. Only after that full deliberation, first it began with the presentation by the manufacturer, such as Pfizer or Moderna. Scientists, clinicians, they presented their case with data. with graphs, with explanation, with charts, showing these many people were immunized and these are the infections in the unimmunized group versus these are the protection in the immunized group. Then they analyzed how it protected in the immunized group. Because they developed antibodies, they developed T-cell responses, and they showed how they monitored those individuals following the immunization until the end of those studies. That lasted for several months. Some of those studies are still going on. For example, both Moderna and Pfizer now extended those clinical trials up to children of 6-month age. Think about it, Marife.
Wow.
So that we understand not only these vaccines are safe and effective in adults such as us, but it's also effective in children, because children would go to the daycare so that their moms can go to work. So that clinical trial is currently ongoing. Most likely we'll have the results in these infants and children in next 2 months before fall. So by fall, moving forward, we can expect many of these vaccines, such as Pfizer or Moderna vaccine, would receive approval, emergency use approval for children up to 6 months of age.
Right now, I believe it's only for
15.
individuals for 15 and 16, or the youngest 15.
Yes. And one more additional information, good news is that as of last Friday, Pfizer submitted authorization of their vaccine formulation for children up to 12 years of age. So from 15, they reduced
They're
the
now
age
lowering.
up to 12.
Oh, okay,
it's
good.
now under consideration by FDA and CDC. I'm very hopeful by this Friday they will make their decision and they will approve Pfizer vaccine to be given to the children up to 12 years of age and upwards. But currently it's 16 and upwards.
We need to protect everyone.
We need to protect everyone, and the other way to look at it, we need to open up the schools. Kids need to go back to their classroom. How we can do that safely?
Yes.
Once we can immunize them, at least to a large number of children, students who are eligible to get the vaccines, if we can vaccinate them, we can safely send them back to school, still following the distancing, still following the mask wearing, not congregating, hand washing. Along with all those measures, if we can immunize them, we can safely send them back to the classroom where they belong.
Yes, it's very important, our listeners out there. So even if you're fully vaccinated, like Manas and I, you still need to wear your mask.
Right.
You still need to follow the physical distancing. And I think a couple of weeks ago, I have a relative from Hawaii visiting, and I visited her at Bellagio. So while I was waiting for her in the lobby, I was observing people, and some children were not wearing their mask. And I was like, okay, I'm going to broadcast this, and some men and family are also not wearing their mask and they're walking around. I said, this is not right. I'm going to broadcast this on my live. So again, even though you're fully vaccinated, because it's not 100% effective, so there's still that
window of infectivity.
Yes,
that it can infect someone. You are right, Marife. So that's the other aspect. So vaccines protect us against infection, contacting the diseases. But no vaccines are 100% foolproof, meaning one can still catch the infection after being immunized. Now, if they catch the infection after getting vaccinated, most likely they will not be sick or ill, but they can transfer that infection to another individual who is not vaccinated or who cannot get vaccinated due to some reasons.
And they will give it to someone else.
So and that person can get seriously ill. We have to think not only about ourselves, but who lives around us, who lives in our family, our elderly grandpas, grandmas, or there may be an immunocompromised person that we know of, unfortunately lives in our family. That individual cannot get immunized. So we have a responsibility to protect those individuals who lives with us and surrounding us.
Absolutely. If it's not for your own protection, protect your loved ones.
Protect your loved ones.
I think
Protect your community.
Yeah, I have shared that in one of the interview that I
Yeah.
had. I think with another, news
Organization,
station.
yes.
Organization. So I think my question is, I know that for the flu shot,
Right.
every year we have to get the flu shot
Yes.
because every year there's new
changes,
strains.
the new strains comes in.
It's like you mentioned about the UK having strains. So
Yes, variants.
what are your thoughts about, are we going to have this COVID-19
Yeah.
vaccination every year like
So-
we do with flu shots?
Yes, it's a very good discussion, very good point.
Yes.
I'm glad that you raised this point because many of us are in the same boat. They have the same question that what's going to be life moving forward. So the way I see how it will develop in near future moving forward is that most likely for next several years, there will be a new COVID-19 vaccine. On the existing platform, scientists are already working to add the variant sequences from this UK variant or Brazilian or South African variant. It's not very difficult to do once we have the first primary sequences developed. It's only addition of new genetic information on the main platform. They are already working on it. And they will also do a clinical trial on these new vaccine formulations. They need to receive approval. That will be a quick approval. So moving forward, taken together, for next several years, yes, perhaps we need to take an annual booster dose on COVID-19 vaccines that will have these new emerging variant sequences so that we remain protected. Finally, this is a futuristic thought that I think that will come into the reality that most likely influenza vaccine and COVID-19 vaccine will be on the same vaccine platform, meaning influenza is a coronavirus family infection. Current infection,
related.
COVID-19, they're all related, members of the same family.
Yes.
So why not create a unified vaccine that will protect us against seasonal influenza, COVID-19, and other coronavirus infections that might come along. Hope not, but unfortunately, if other coronavirus infection comes along, we can have a single platform of vaccine that will be a combination vaccine that will protect us against various similar infections.
I want to tell. I think I told you the funny story, and I don't know whether my relative is just joking around about this. He got his first dose of Pfizer, and he said they administered it on his buttocks. So I said, "Yikes!" It is recommended to have it on the upper arms, right?
Arms, yes.
So I'm gonna investigate and challenge him. He's
look at
probably just joking around.
Most
about
likely
it.
he's joking around.
Yes.
No one will allow him to open up
And
his
expose in public, right?
Public.
And he said, "Okay, put your pants down. I'm gonna give you." I was like, "No."
All it requires
Only in the arms.
injection into the muscle.
Yes.
That upper arm is a perfect area to immunize ourselves. And very recent scientific information that came out from the research of the Washington University, St. Louis, and Israel. People who received Pfizer vaccine in their upper arm, the scientists have been found that how really those vaccines are picked up by our white blood cells in our body, then moving into the lymph nodes surrounding our upper arm area, like underneath our armpit, and educating B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. Those are the white blood cells that will generate either antibody or release cytokine responses to fight against this infection. So there is a need that we use a site that will help in triggering these immune responses. And it has been observed scientifically that yes, how these vaccines work. People started understanding that aspect of our biology.
Yeah, so it is well absorbed in the muscles.
It's very well absorbed in the muscle.
It's
and
administered
then, yes,
intramuscular.
Intramuscular.
Right.
And muscle cells will pick up this genetic information, convert it into protein. Then that protein will stimulate the immunity or immune responses in the vaccinated individual's body.
In your body
So
system.
that's how it works, and scientifically first time it has been documented. Yes, that is the way it is working.
I think I wanted to talk about globally. I know that
Yes.
looking at the social media, I'm seeing a lot of my friends back in the Philippines are gradually getting their first dose.
Right.
And I wasn't sure whether it's Pfizer or it's AstraZeneca.
AstraZeneca.
Probably AstraZeneca,
Yes.
right?
So globally, both Pfizer and AstraZeneca vaccines are being given at the highest number, because AstraZeneca vaccine had been released since last December globally.
But not here in the U.S.
Not in
I
US.
think it's still
waiting, pending approval.
Yeah.
They would file for the approval, but there were some roadblocks in their data present. It's a good vaccine, but there were some hiccups how they presented the information to the public and to the scientists and to the regulatory bodies. They are short of clearing up those areas. They plan to move forward, submitting to the US FDA regulatory body. But globally, it has been received approval under emergency use authorization, and at least in 60 different countries in the world, including Philippines, Israel, India, and many other countries in the world, that AstraZeneca vaccine is the major vaccine given to those individuals. Another vaccine candidate is the Pfizer vaccine, mRNA vaccine. That has been widely used all over the world. And AstraZeneca vaccine, incidentally, is manufactured in India. There is a pharmaceutical. Yeah, India
didn't know that.
supplies about 60% of the world's vaccine need, not just this one. AstraZeneca vaccine is primarily manufactured in India with a very old organization called Serum Institute of India. They manufacture world's 40% of the world's vaccine need. AstraZeneca approached them very early on in the vaccine developmental stage, and they developed the capacity to develop AstraZeneca vaccines in millions of doses every month, and they are supplying all over the world with AstraZeneca vaccine.
And you know, for our listeners out there, you hear Dr. Manas Mandal speaking about the process from the very beginning, even before these vaccines were approved by the authorities, right?
Yes.
It has to go through this rigorous process. You have to present. It's like you're presenting your project, you know.
Yes.
But this is like bigger than just a project. This is to save
This is someone's child.
everybody. Yeah,
It was the
somebody's grandma, somebody's
Yes.
son,
yes,
wife, husband.
They will get and the scientists knew that they are fighting an epidemic in their lifetime. So they did not left any stone unturned, or they did not leave anything to be undone. They tried everything that was possible. They did not cut any corner. They did not cut any studies or anything. They tried their best. Now it is our turn. It is our turn to harvest the benefits of that really, really backbreaking hard work for last 1 year by the scientists, by the clinicians, by many researchers who were involved globally. It was not a single company, single entity. The whole world scientific community worked on it. So these are really good vaccines. There will be some adverse reactions, and there are regulatory bodies who are very, very closely monitoring for any untoward side effects. So we should not be concerned about the safety and efficacy of these vaccines. It is our turn to get the vaccines. It is widely available to protect us and to protect our, as you said, Marife, protect our loved ones.
Yes. Why do you think, I know you mentioned about the resistance, especially from our minority
Ethnic minority population.
Yeah, so what are your thoughts about that? Why they are resistant?
It has some historical perspectives. Clearly understood historical perspective goes to the African American community who has been target for Tuskegee syphilis experiment. Also, there was a HeLa cell that isolated from one cervical cancer African American woman, and that HeLa cell isolated from her cervical cancer have been later found to be used for many drug development, vaccine development purposes without her knowledge. So there are some mistrust of vaccination, clinical trials of medicines, vaccines in certain minority groups. Also, we have to understand that minority groups always gets the benefit of the latest information, latest education, and access to those products compared to the mainstream Americans. So combination of all these things over decades created some uncertainty, some hesitation, particularly in minority ethnic group.
Well, it's our hope that
Yes.
All these disadvantages is being addressed. And I think Healthy People 2020, the
Yes.
Healthy People 2010, if you go back. So I think that some of the initiatives that the government has been working on is
Right.
to increase the access for minority
And awareness,
populations.
creating the awareness
Yes.
in the minority group. That's the major part. Because if I do not know about something, I will always have suspicion about that thing. What is this? How does it work? Is it safe? I do not have any infection. Why still I need to get a vaccine? That's the other way to look at it.
And accountability and encouraging
Yes.
everyone, not only the minority population, but everyone to
mainstream.
question, do your research, and if you don't understand, ask
Ask the
questions.
experts. Ask
I
the
think
experts.
culturally, like you don't question authority, or you don't question
Right.
healthcare providers. You don't question your doctor because your
No.
doctor is God.
God, yeah, doctor knows everything. But in this aspect, we need to ask the right questions.
Yes.
And we need to have the answer because we deserve that. Because there are people who knows these things, who has done these things their life's work, and we need to trust them because they are the expert. And when these experts tells us that it is safe, it will save your life, it will save your loved one's life, it will save the community, and it will help us to go back to our normal life.
It's a balancing act because I say this story over and over that I was born and raised in the Philippines, and
Right.
I remember in elementary grades that we're all lined up getting our
Yes.
vaccination,
Right.
and we just trust,
You have
whoever
to
the
just trust
nurses,
them.
whoever is giving it to us. But gone are those days because now you have all this information in the media,
Yes.
other people, different people. You're getting all this information left and right, and you just confused.
You
of
get
what is
confused.
true.
Yes.
So the accountability is research it.
Yes.
Look up all the different angles, and I think that there are documentaries. There are people who are giving their opinions, and then do your research, go into the books, understand how it's being
Yeah.
manufactured, be part of the public who can view the process.
Yes.
Sometimes we try to, when we do our presentations for the community, we try to make it as a lay terms.
Right.
And
So that
even
everybody can understand.
yeah, so if I have guests and they mention about something scientific, then I go back there and then clarify
What
in
does
the
it
lane.
mean?
Yes.
So yes, this confidence building measure has to be the paramount, has to come to the forefront, particularly within the minority ethnic community as well as the mainstream white Americans. Many of them are equally very suspicious about these vaccines formulations. Will it harm us? Why I do need it? We need to address them. You mentioned about the social media.
Yes.
It gives us a lot of information, but it also gives us a lot of misinformation.
Wrong
So we
information,
need to
yeah.
filter out wrong misinformations compared to the right sources of information, right scientific explanations that will perhaps convince us to get the vaccines, stay safe, and have a safety net around us and around the community.
One last information. I just wanted to let our listeners out there to know that the Asian Community Development Council is holding a vaccine clinic in Spring Mountain. They're their headquarters, which is right across. The building is right across the China Mall town in Spring
yes.
Mountain, and they are really their target. Their target population are the business owners around the area, as well as their own clients who come into their clinic or in the headquarters. So Manas and I are volunteering on Sunday.
Yes.
So come and
We
see
will do
us
that.
and see. Their goal is to vaccinate 1,000 people.
1,000, that's a large number of
Yes.
individuals.
And this is a
Yes.
partnership with Albertson Pharmacy. They're going to Albertson's Pharmacy is going to provide the vaccines and the vaccinators, and our students from the
Roseman
Apina,
University, yes.
Roseman University Student Nurse Association are going to volunteer as logistic help, giving
Yes.
information to the public. And Manas and I are going to be there, so come
Yes.
and join us.
Come and join us.
And Manas is also looking into partnering with ACDC, probably targeting the Indian population.
community, Indian
Yes.
population, Indian
Yes.
community, Indian business owners. I plan to carry out that conversation with the community leaders, and let's see if we can get things done with our Indian community.
This is one way that we can increase vaccine confidence among our ethnic minority population.
And that's very, very critically important right now, because these variants are spreading. We need to stop the spreading of these variants through immunization, through public awareness, because this is the last mile of our long journey through a very dark tunnel. We already are in light, but
Yes.
let not it be dark at this point.
I can't wait to say COVID-19 be gone. Aloha.
Aloha. We all need to work towards that.
Yes. Well, time flies when we're having
Right.
fun, Manas. Once
Yes.
again, it's really, I enjoy talking to you off and
It's my
on the
pleasure.
air. And as we were coming here, we were already talking about what we're going to share with the community out there.
Sure.
And so one last words of wisdom.
Yes. So it is the time, folks. It is the time. We all waited for so long. Now is the time to roll up our sleeves, get into the community vaccination clinic, get your shot, and encourage your friends, your family, your loved ones to get their shots. Still practice the social distancing, mask wearing, hand washing. Don't go to the restaurant, but order the food. Take the carry out. Let's do it for next 3 to 4 months. Then we will be out of the woods. But we can do it together, and
Yes.
only together.
Yes, we can do this together. So thank you, Manas, for being our guest again tonight. I hope that you will come back again with new
It will be my pleasure.
information about
Sure.
the COVID-19 vaccines. And again, once again, PHLB Radio.
Yes.
Johan, thank you so much for being
Thank
our
you.
partner.
Yes.
And once again, our listeners out there, remember, every Monday is a Healthy
Healthy
Monday.
Monday.
Aloha.
Aloha. Thank you.
The Asian American Pacific Islander Nurses Association of Nevada has just brought you Healthy Mondays with Apina of Nevada.
This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio.